I want to break down what collateral status really means. When the CFTC approved XRP as acceptable collateral, they didn't just say, yeah, sure, throw it in the mix. No, collateral is the backbone of the derivatives system. It's the assets institutions trust enough to post when they're taking on leverage or hedged positions. So if you want to simplify it, collateral equals the asset Wall Street is willing to bet millions on. You don't use junk collateral. You don't use hype coins. You don't use assets with weak liquidity. You use assets that have deep liquidity, proven reliability, settlement capability, commodity-like stability, and regulatory clarity. And that's the real headline here, is that XRP just got treated like a commodity-grade settlement asset. Let me give you a few implications of this that nobody's probably explaining in a simple way. Number one, collateral assets get locked, not traded. So once XRP is posted as collateral, it's not floating on exchanges. It's not being flipped. It's not creating volatility. And it's also not increasing circulating supply. It is effectively removed from the open market and held in institutional custody. So when supply tightens and demand starts rising from institutional uses, price doesn't have a choice. It must adjust upward over time. And this is just simple math. Now, number two, you cannot run trillion-dollar derivatives on low-value asset. The derivatives system is massive, over 1 quadrillion globally. Assets used inside that system need to be priced in a way that allows them to handle high-volume settlement and collateralization. This has happened every single time in financial history. Gold rose before it became core derivatives collateral. Bitcoin rose before CME futures adoption. And major FX pairs hold value because they are derivatives backbone. Collateral assets don't chase price. Price re-rates to meet the demands of collateral. Let me say that again. Collateral doesn't follow speculation. Collateral forces valuation. Number three, XRP now sits on balance sheets. This is a big shift. Institutions can now hold XRP as recognized commodity, pledge XRP, lend against XRP, and integrate XRP into structured financial products. Before this decision, XRP was that crypto that SEC was fighting. And now it is stepping into the infrastructure layer of U.S. financial markets. And then number four, this was not a price story. This was a plumbing story. I have to repeat that because everybody is looking at the charts, waiting on a move. By the time the move happens, you are already too late to the party. And that's why I'm educating you in the macro environment, so that you can align your conviction to the actual macro story, which really gives the sober implications of where this price could move in the near future. So let me reiterate this. Plumbing always moves before price. We saw the pipes shift, but we just haven't seen the repricing yet. But listen, the pipes always move first.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. And guys, the prices are falling, but there is optimism on the horizon for the XRP community. And during today's show, I am going to focus on a lot of what the Federal Reserve has planned for 2026. Now, I'm going to share some optimistic news right now. Starting in January, we are going to see $45 billion worth of stimulus enter the economy on a monthly basis for the first 6 months of 2026. You're hearing that correctly. Got that directly from the Federal Reserve. We are about to witness quantitative easing, and it all kicks off in just a couple of weeks. I've also got a major update in regards to something the Federal Reserve has not done since the late 1940s. And the last time this happened, we had hyperinflation and we experienced 20% inflation in a single calendar year. But I wanted to start off this video with Kamala Stevenson, who's a very smart lady. Shout out to this person. She put out a great video. Everybody should go and check it out. And I do want to give a special thank you to everybody for the happy birthday wishes. I am celebrating my 28th birthday today. I've already decided I'm going to do 28 seconds in the ice cold ocean to celebrate. I'm going to be posting that video on my Twitter. I'll post it for the subscribers as well. But I do want to give a huge thank you and shout out to everybody who sent positive comments. And I'm going to read a couple of those right now. KG says, big thank you for the $4.99. Happy birthday, Abs. Thank you to KG. Big shout out to you, my friend. Thomas, aka Black Squirrel, said, Abs, happy birthday, my brother. I truly appreciate everything you do for us. Hope you have a great birthday. Well, I appreciate you as well, Tom. For anybody who doesn't know, Black Squirrel right there in chat was the first and only Good Evening Crypto guest to be interviewed live on air. So shout out to Thomas. That happened at XRP Las Vegas. Terry Anderson, big thank you for the $20. The official owl of the Good Evening Crypto community, as you guys can tell. Happy birthday, Abs. Cheers to many blessings. Thank you so much. And the Blazing Bandit in chat said, happy birthday, Abs. Appreciate you always, and thank you. Well, I'm very grateful and humbled that I get to be here and celebrate with you guys on my birthday. I was telling Johnny, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. There's no place I'd rather be except for right here with you all celebrating this news. Now, of course, the big update we started off with, XRP just got treated like gold. And what are we witnessing right now? We are witnessing blockchain products be integrated into banking and into traditional companies. And I just got major breaking news on my phone as we're doing the interview or the live update. Bank of America says that banks will be moving on-chain over the next several years. We have the largest companies on the planet, not only working with Ripple, but working to tokenize real-world assets and bring blockchain products live inside the United States. Could not be more excited, could not be more optimistic. And with that being said, we're going to dive into some of the breaking news. Now, if you missed this update on Friday, this is going to be very relevant for today's show. So I'm going to hit it very briefly, and then we'll break it down. According to Brad Garlinghouse, this is the breaking news. Huge news. Ripple just received conditional approval from the OCC to charter the Ripple National Trust Bank. This is a massive step forward, first for the RLUSD token, setting the standard for stablecoin compliance on both a federal and state level. And now the second paragraph is where it gets really interesting. To the banking lobbyists, your anti-competitive tactics are transparent. You've complained that crypto isn't playing by the same rules, but here's the crypto industry under the OCC supervision and standards, prioritizing compliance, trust, innovation to benefit its consumers. What are you so afraid of? Well, I think we all know what they're so afraid of. They are afraid that these blockchain products are going to eat away at the market dominance that they have today. I'm going to show you a 30-second clip of David Schwartz here talking about what happened when Ripple went to the banks and asked them, can we integrate your technology? Here's what they had to say.
Banks, it's very sexy when you close a deal with the bank, and we do that sometimes, but they're very slow movers. They're very slow to execute. They're very conservative. They're never going to be Ripple's success stories. And it's hard to get them to push the benefits down to their customers because that's risky for them. And then it highlights where they're inefficient. So we focused a lot on banks in the beginning just because a press release with a bank is a big thing, but we discovered they're just very slow to move. Like if all they want is a press release, now we're like, hey, we want to actually move billions of dollars now. And they're like, yeah, we kind of don't.
So there you have it, guys. For many of the people out there who are like, why hasn't the XRP ledger been adopted by some of these banks? There's your answer. They do not want to expose the flaws in the banking system. And now, with the US government finally adopting digital assets, finally beginning to regulate this digital asset class, I think this is a narrative that's going to fall away eventually, but it's something that's very important for the time being. Now, we are 8 minutes into the episode. We've got 2,378 live listeners here joining us. If you're excited and you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to give me a gift for my birthday, all I'm asking for is a tap on that like button, my friends. But with that being said, let's get into what I'm anticipating for next year. And this is a brand new announcement, just came out about 7:30 a.m. this morning, already has nearly 400,000 views. And you're going to see why, because for the first time ever, the Fed just admitted the market will not be buying the $9 trillion worth of federal debt that is due. So the Federal Reserve will be buying that debt. Now, the last time that the Fed did this was the 1940s, and it led to 20% inflation year over year. When Germany did this in the 1930s, it led to hyperinflation. Well, now the United States is copying that playbook, and we're about to see this play out here in 2025. I do want to address some of the bears in the room before I play this clip. It is very easy to be negative when things are down 30%, 40%. But in the end, what happens is these markets always eventually turn over. Every single time. And that's what I'm anticipating once again. I'm going to play a very quick 20, 30 seconds here. This is from the Modern Investor. He has the Money Rules channel. I watch a lot of this content. You guys should go and check it out. And he's been invested in this market since I think 2015, 2016. Here's what he had to say about the retail investors who are tapping out right now and how this applies to our listeners as well.
annoyances that I've had with this market has been when prices dip a little or a lot of people leave. They flee the market. And what ends up happening is that the market ends up recovering at some point. And then the people who sold their coins end up getting a little annoyed because they sold their coins for $1.50. The coin goes up to $47 and they go, gosh darn it, I could have had some monies. That's what I think is going to be terrifying for a lot of people next year. I've noticed as a crypto person in the space, if I do say so, like it's not waning interest, but I think people don't really understand what's happening. If you're here, hello, I assume you understand what the fudge is going on. This is why you're still here, been paying attention to all the money making stuff. To the other people who aren't, who have left a long time ago, who will probably re-enter the market at some point, the terrifying part will come from, okay, I'll give it to you this way. You ever been in the market and then you see like a coin, but you don't buy it? And you know you could have. And it's also at that point where like you could have just put like $800 into it, maybe like 1,100, random number. And then the coin goes up and then you see later on, you're like, oh, snaps. I could have made 118,000 like that. That's the terrifying. Arr.
And we saw this, guys, last year when XRP went from 50 cents to $3 in the month of November. I saw this on a personal level as well. I've been doing crypto content on the internet for 5 years now. And it was just last year when the XRP price chart went from 50 cents to $3 that all the people in my personal life, friends, family, people who are in the gym, just regular acquaintances that were coming up to me and saying, hey, I know I've always bashed on this crypto stuff. Do you think it's too late to get in? So I've experienced this firsthand as well. When the second that the prices start to outperform, the people like us are proven correct. We're making a lot of money. The prices are pumping through the roof. That's when the veteran investors are excited. Maybe you're taking a little bit of profit. And the newer retail investors enter this space with unrealistic expectations. And that is the people, those are the people who are most frustrated with some of this price action. Now, for the long-term investors, the most important thing you need to keep in mind is that a lot of these dips are buying opportunities. If 2026 ends up being the year like we're all predicting, where it's focused on a liquidity cycle and not the 4-year narrative for crypto, we are going to see major price appreciation, not for XRP, not just for XRP, but for many of the other assets that we talk about every day, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and many others. I saw it in 2021. We've seen it in 2017. We are looking like something very similar is shaping up for 2026 as well. And that's the introduction that I wanted to give to this interview. For the first time, the Fed just admitted markets will not be buying $9 trillion worth of federal debt. We can add this to the $45 billion worth of stimulus that I started off reporting on this episode, where the Fed is going to be buying back $50 billion, $45 billion every single month from January until the month of July. Bears, live chat, share your thoughts. I'd love to hear. Do people think I'm getting ahead of myself here? Do you agree with what I have to say? Ones if you agree, twos if you disagree. We're going to let this video play. We'll run that poll once again. Here it is.
The Federal Reserve just announced it's unleashing the money printers to finance a $9 trillion wall of federal debt coming due this year. As in, markets won't buy it, so the Fed will with counterfeit money. This is where the Fed types zeros on Excel sheets in the basement, declares their dollars like any good counterfeiter, then uses those fake dollars to buy government debt called quantitative easing or QE. Jerome Powell said the Fed's kicking off with $40 billion a month, which is a $500 billion per year, lovingly printed straight out of your wallet. Now, this is concerning because the last time the Fed did this in the 1940s to finance World War II, it sent inflation into the double digits. At one point in 1947, annual inflation was 20%.
Wow.
In fact, it's how Weimar Germany got to hyperinflation and wheelbarrows of money. Because once the central bank starts printing the deficit with inflation, it's very tempting to make that deficit very big. After all, there's a lot of special interests to feed in Washington, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there. Soon it is real money. What's even more concerning is that in the 1940s, it was just about financing government debt. Today, the Fed needs to pump hundreds of billions just to sustain a financial sector that has ballooned to nearly 5 times GDP. The Fed literally admitted this, with Jerome Powell claiming that this is not real QE, which everybody knows is inflationary. This, in fact, is necessary to maintain, quote, ample reserves so the Fed can maintain control of interest rates. In other words, the financial system breaks unless the Fed keeps a full plate of cocaine or inflation by the bar. The Fed knows this because markets cracked both times the Fed tried draining QE. There was the so-called taper tantrum in 2013 and then another one again in 2019, just before COVID, when interbank rates spiked to double digits. In both cases, the Fed got back to printing toot sweet, bringing us to so far $5.5 trillion of freshly printed QE since the 2008 crisis, which is almost as many dollars as existed in 2008.
And just a quick point here, guys, is that when you look at what's happened with quantitative tightening versus easing in 2008, the United States GDP and the debt that was printed every year were really in correlation. They were trending right along with one another. The 2008 crisis happened. The Fed printed to kind of escape that crisis. And what we've seen is a divergence in the United States GDP and the national debt. The national debt is climbing at an exponential rate that we'll never be able to catch up to. And if guys like me can figure this stuff out, people like Jerome Powell and Donald Trump and Scott Bessent, the ones who are in control, they figured this stuff out 8, 10, 20 years ago. And it's one of the reasons that I think crypto is becoming so important right now. Crypto will be tapped as the solution for the national debt crisis. Now, somebody said XRP doesn't serve the same purpose as gold. All crypto is still a risk-on asset where gold is the total opposite. Now, he said morons at the end. That's pretty funny. But here's the reality, guys, is that we are watching the plumbing be laid so that XRP can be used as collateral for the derivatives market. And the people who study this market every day, the Clarity Act will unleash that capital inside the United States. If you haven't done your research, the reason the Clarity Act is so important is because from that point forward, companies like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google, everybody will be able to launch digital wallets. And pretty soon, we are going to see the next major influx of liquidity into this space where risk on assets set to benefit. And you're right, XRP is a risk on asset. That is what I'm so excited about for 2026. They're going to flood the system with liquidity. Risk on assets are going to outperform, and people who don't own assets are going to be crushed. And that's the unfortunate truth. Now, one of the things that I've come to kind of terms with, I guess, is that, yeah, this system really does hurt the poorest people, essentially. And if I could design the system and that wasn't the case, I wish it wasn't that way. But the reality is that as they print more money, the wealth divide just continues to grow. And it's the people who own real estate and own businesses and own risk on assets or even own gold that are set to benefit here. But it's the other people who do not own assets and are focused on their wage and their salary. Listen, guys, the reality is people call them a debt slave, right? They go to work, they make their $4,000 a month, they've got $4,200 in bills, and every single month they're running a $200 deficit, accruing more and more debt, not even chipping away at the debt that they have pre-existing. The United States is in that situation on steroids, and we are going to see that. Now, in regards to the market collapsing this morning, another major narrative our listeners need to be aware of is the Japan debt crisis. Because again, I think there's a major sell-off with the anticipation that Japan is going to be raising rates on December 19th. On this show, December 19th, we are going to be having Matt Hogan, the XRP ETF issuer from Bitwise, joining this channel. And the day prior, this Thursday, December 18th, Sal Gilberti, another XRP ETF issuer, will be joining the Good Evening Crypto channel live for you guys. So if you're excited about that, smash that like button. Let me know some of your thoughts in chat. I do want to address some of the live donations, guys. They are greatly appreciated. I just wanted to make sure I hammered some of the content in as well. Chris Palmer says, happy birthday. Mine is on Christmas Day. Now, that's almost criminal, my friend. But having your birthday on Christmas, I hope your family doubles up the gifts. I hope they give you one gift and they say, this is from Santa. The other gift, this is from your family. But shout out to you, my friend. Merry Christmas and happy birthday. Thomas the Conservative, $10 donation. Thank you. He says happy birthday with the ripple emoji. Bobby, $4.99. Happy 28th birthday to Abs. Thank you for all you do. Shout out to you, Bobby. We appreciate you being here in chat every single day. DeFi John with a membership and a $10 donation. Thank you, my friend. You look very friendly in the profile picture. Happy birthday, Abs. So thankful for all you do for the community, brother. And let me just give a quick shout out as well. Everybody who's been with me for a long time knows there was way more adversity last summer when this token was 50 cents than there is today at $1.91. What we cannot do, let me just give you some realistic TA here as well, guys. What the XRP chart needs to do is we need to close our weekly candle above $1.85. If XRP drops below $1.85, we're going to have a massive drop, probably all the way down to about $1.55, $1.51. I don't see us going much lower than that. If for some reason we outline a black swan case scenario, there is going to be a ton of buying right here. This $1.20, $1.15 range, that is the black swan worst case scenario for the XRP price chart, where I think people could say this might be a relative bottom. This might be a local bottom if crap hits the fan, for lack of a better term. But thank you very much to DeFi John for that. Greatly appreciated, my friend. Jose just became a member. I think he's looking to see me dive in the ocean later on today. Shout out to you, Jose. Thank you very much for becoming a monthly member. Jonathan from the XRP Army with the 589 and the membership. Shout out to you, Jonathan. You're here every day, and we appreciate that. Happy birthday, Abs. I know you don't drink, but buy yourself a couple XRP. Hope you have a fantastic day, my friend. The best crypto show ever. Yes, I get my... I get drunk off the ambition of the market, right? I get my addiction is met with my crypto addiction. We'll call it that, I guess, for lack of a better term. And big thank you for the 589. This person, Jonathan Perez, with the membership. Shout out to you. Shout out to the Blazing Bandit for the gifted membership here. And shout out to Craig the Child in chat with another membership. Shout out to all the new members, guys. I believe we're up over 260 members here. Big thank you. And we do have a lot of donations, so I got to give a huge shout out and thank you guys. I'm super humble and super gracious that you even enjoy this show. So it means so much to me that you'd send a donation. It's really unnecessary, but it is greatly appreciated. I want to say that. Craig Child says, been here since February every single day. Happy birthday, Abs. I just became a member. All that I ask is that you never post another picture of Johnny without a shirt on. Why you got to do my boy like that? Listen, I got to give some credit to my boy, Johnny Krypto. He did a 5-day fast. He lost, I think, 12 pounds during that time. So shout out to Johnny Krypto. The man is on a health kick, and I got to stick up for my boy, guys. You got your real friends. They defend you when you're not there. So thank you for the donation. Thank you for the membership. Greatly appreciate it. And you made me laugh this morning. But Johnny Krypto, he's on that health kick, guys. Don't doubt it. Johnny Krypto may be carrying a 6-pack this summer, and it won't be a case of beers. That's all I got to say. Big thank you to Sunshine Streams with the $20 donation. Another listener who's here every day. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. And there's no comment there, so all I got to say is thank you, my friend. Shout out to Sunshine. Eric says, happy birthday, Abs. Thank you for everything. Long live GEC. God willing, my friend. Shout out. We thank the Lord every day, and God willing, this channel will be here for years and years to come. Lee says, happy birthday, Abs. Any plans for today? Well, I had the family dinner last night. I got some gifts. I think I'm going to go and get Korean barbecue tonight. Now, that's my go-to, guys. Shout out to all the people who know how great Korean barbecue is. Just a couple more donations here. I'm going to hit them really quick, guys. Thank you so much. Craig Childs with another $20 donation. Abs, when are you going to also post you live content on Play TV? Oh, when are you also going to post your live content on Play TV, which is part of the fastest growing social media app in the world? Now, Craig, I don't know if you got like a promo code or something. We may have a Play TV employee in chat. Shout out to you. I'll check it out and see if it's worth posting on there. Thank you for that insight. And then the last one here, Lucas, happy birthday, Abs. This show is a blessing to all of us. And Johnny Krypto, right on cue, my friend. I just hit all the live donations. Shout out to you. Thank you for jumping in. We got a bunch of great articles. XRP just got treated like gold. We did a great video on this last night. And I gave a shout out to Kamala Stevenson. The woman in that video did a fantastic job. The big thing that I think people are underestimating here, Johnny, these markets are built around liquidity. It's not about the 4-year cycle. It's not about the Bitcoin halving. It is about the liquidity cycle going forward. And I know me and you have talked about this on stream. We've talked about this off stream, and we're going to break that down right after you do your introduction. I got another video that our listeners are going to play. I do just want to give a huge shout out and thank you for the $50 donation, the XRP ARC or the ARC XRP. Happy Born Day, Abs. Thank you so much for your time. Much respect. Much respect for you, my friend. And Johnny, they're calling you Unk in chat. Couldn't be happier to call you Unk here on GEC. How you feeling this morning? Thanks for being here.
Abs, I'm feeling great, but the real question is, how are you feeling? Because it is your day. So I just wanted to say happy Hatch Day to you. Today was the day when you broke out of your eggshell and came into the world, started running around in diapers, and then growing up. And here you are 28 years later on the air. This is fantastic. And yes, I will also be 28 in February. That is correct. Very good observation there. But this ain't about me. This is about the man right there. And of course, I couldn't miss today's episode. So I wanted to wish you a very, very, very happy birthday. I'm sure you had a nice, happy birthday weekend going into it. And of course, yes, there's a lot of great things to talk about here, Abs. Oh, yeah, you have to reveal the comedian, too. That's right. You need to reveal that. But, you know, there's so much happening. And I think the reality is people are hopefully starting to realize that, yeah, maybe this ain't about 4-year cycles. It's about liquidity, like we've been saying for a while on this show. At the end of the day, that's really what it is. And yes, 28 decades is more like it, definitely. Well, who knows? That'd be great if people could live for 28 decades. Maybe some people can, who knows? But, like we talked about yesterday, we're watching the building of the house, Abs. And I think that's one of the best analogies I can give. And right now, all we really see is like the trees have been cut down, the foundation has been poured, maybe a few walls are up. And everybody's looking at going, man, I don't want that house. That thing's ugly looking, And the reality is like, yeah, and it's only worth $2 today. But when the house is built and done, it's going to be a lot more sexier. It's going to look a lot nicer. It's going to be worth a lot more money. The question is, do people have the patience to wait and stay throughout the building? And I don't think people do. I think some people will jump ship just the way they did at 50 cents, right? And then all of a sudden I went to $2 and I had people calling me up. I was going, oh my God, is it too late to get back in? I'm like, why did you get out in the first place? That's kind of like I feel right now. People are panicking, fear and greed index. Everybody's jumping ship. And it's like, nah, this ain't the time to jump ship. This is the time to be buying a little bit more while you still can. And you're just hearing it everywhere. There's too many catalysts coming. The world is changing. Things are it just takes a long time to adopt this kind of technology and change the way the world works. And that's really, if you think about it, Abs, the monetary system is like the single most important thing that controls how the whole world works. And we're trying to change that. You're not changing that overnight. It ain't going to be a flip of the switch. This is something that's going to take a long time. But with that said, I'm excited. Happy birthday to you, my friend. 28 years old in the making. You got to be excited, right?
Another day in the Matrix, my friend. That's what I say before every single show to Johnny Krypto. And on a serious note, and we're going to move on from my birthday. Thank you so much. I want to give a big thank you to everybody for the happy birthday wishes. I really believe that what we're setting up for as the XRP community is we are blessed. We are fortunate enough to have the understanding, to have the awareness of this asset class. And I've experienced this in my personal life alone, guys. I graduated, I didn't graduate college. For everyone who knows my personal story, it's a little bit of insight. I dropped out of college after my junior year because COVID hit. They sent us home and I go, you know what? I'm going to start making YouTube videos. So that's kind of my story. I've got 1 year left of college. Maybe I'll do it in my 30s just to get the plaque on the wall, right, Johnny Krypto? But the truth of the matter is that all of my friends who weren't listening back then are jumping in the space now. All the ones who did listen back then are reaping the benefits. I have friends who I'm not super close with, but they watch the show and they ask me questions. They'll text me every now and then. They bought Solana all the way back in 2021 at $9, at $22, right? And this isn't a Solana show. We don't talk often about Solana. Same process can be applied to XRP. I have friends who are buying 20-cent XRP who are now reaping the benefits of that. Our community, the newer investors, should embody that. They should be thinking long-term. They should be thinking, where's this space going to be in the next couple of years? And how wealthy can I make myself? Someone said, bro, WTF is going on, man. That is in reaction to the crypto market prices, Johnny. In case you didn't know, Bitcoin, 86,000, Ethereum, 29.82, XRP, $1.91, Solana, $1.26. And we're going to start talking about this. But again, what's happening here, and I did a lot of reporting on the Federal Reserve this morning, Johnny. The Federal Reserve is beginning to enter economic stimulus. They are going to move these markets in 2026. And I showed a brand new video where it says, for the first time ever, the Federal Reserve is going to be buying back $9 trillion worth of debt that's set to be issued because the buyers aren't there. Nobody wants that shit debt, for lack of a better saying. And I apologize. I get one swear on my birthday, guys. We're going to play this Raul Paul clip and break it down.
Alts are driven by the business cycle. So with the business cycle currently low, we haven't had alt season. And everyone's like, I can't believe they've robbed us of alt season. It's never going to happen. There's too many tokens. We can't have nice things and all of that bullshit we hear all day. It's not. It's just the economy's stupid. Because what happens is when earnings go up, when the business cycle is strong, you have more earnings and you invest those earnings further out the risk curve. It's just really basic stuff. It happens for exactly the same as small caps, exactly the same with junk bonds, credit. They all operate in exactly the same way, and the business cycle has been subdued. Listen to Scott Bessent. He's telling you all day, as is Trump, is we're going to have a banner year next year. Why? Because they're going to jam the market with liquidity, and they're going to jam fiscal stimulus through as well. Yeah, if you think about it, the US is a service-based economy. They're going to get rid of tax on tips. That's a huge boost to people. There's like $1.5 trillion that will flow into the banking system just from that stuff alone, from the big, beautiful bill. Then we've got the changes to the SLR that allows maybe $3 or $4 trillion of credit creation from the banking system. We've got enormous amounts of this stuff lining up. Why? Because they wanted to win the election. You know, the good thing is, for once, we've actually got a macro hedge fund manager running the treasury. So I know how he thinks. He was a long-term global macro investor subscriber. I've known him for 20 years, and he understands the game, which is jam the business cycle going into the elections. So we've got that. We've got the debt to roll. It's kind of stacking up, and it tells you your beloved, or our beloved, alt season is still to come.
Well, Johnny Krypto, here's what's great. If he's right, and let's just operate under the analysis that this market isn't driven by 4-year cycles. It's not driven by Bitcoin's price action. It is driven by liquidity. That means that this market, it explains what happened here in 2025. I want to read just one quick tweet, and I'm going to give you a chance to respond here, Johnny. It really builds on kind of what we're about to get into, where the plumbing was laid this calendar year. We saw a bunch of major catalysts. We had ETFs approved. We had the OCC approve 5 national trust charters, including Ripple just this last Friday. We had the OCC clear US banks for riskless crypto trading, going to be treated like any other asset. CFTC is launching tokenized collateral pilots for Bitcoin, ETH, USDC. 2026 will have an entirely different market structure. And it's not just about the Clarity Act. We focus on the Clarity Act a lot, but what's being laid here is the groundwork. All of the pipes are being established. We're waiting for the liquidity to turn on, and now we're going to know where it's running from this point forward. And we're going to break this down. Big thank you for this donation. Happy birthday, Abs. Buy yourself some XRP from me in Canada. Nona, my birthday was yesterday. Well, shout out to you. Happy birthday. Right back at you. December is full of birthdays. I mean, so many people in my personal life have said, and there's somebody in chat named Ollie from the UK. His daughter's birthday is today. I saw that, so shout out to her as well. Johnny, on a more serious note, I guess, what would you say in regards to the liquidity cycle and how that outlines with what you're anticipating for 2026?
Well, I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. I mean, the pool, the way I've always kind of described this to our audience, Abs, is the market is nothing but a pool of money. That's it. And the bigger the pool gets, the more money is in there, the more it goes and finds itself into assets that deserve it, or what we call investment worthy assets. And so the reason why we haven't seen a lot, if you look at the size of right now, the market cap of crypto, it hasn't really moved in over a year, right? We got a massive flood of new money that came in once Trump won the election, because Trump won the election, and that money, smart money, gets in and wants to get in quick. And we saw that big burst, and we haven't seen much new money come in since that, about a year and a half later. But now, we're hearing with the debt cycles resetting coming up, and then of course with the Fed printing more money, that is going to introduce new money into the system. Plus, when you think about different tax system where tips are free and it's another $1.7 trillion of money floating around, all that money is floating and goes somewhere. And so to me, some of it will absolutely be coming here, because as we move into 2026, you're just going to continue to hear more and more. And you're going to hear not you and guys like you and me talking about, but now you're going to start hearing the Wall Street folks. You're going to start hearing CNN and MSNBC and Fox and all them talking about crypto and blockchain and how it's coming. And it's just people have to hear things so many times before they start thinking, before it registers in their brain, oh, I need to invest in that. And I think you're going to start seeing that happen next year. And as that money, that's just going to bring more money into this thing. And we're going to see all assets in this area rise in demand. And then, some will be news driven and, by the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. But for me, what's exciting is right now, when you think about the supply, that's, for example, in XRP, we're seeing a lot of that come off the shelf. We're seeing a lot of that kind of getting wrapped up, put in long-term holders' hands. And especially if you think about collateralization of banking, right? If Ripple becomes a banking, collateralizes a whole bunch of it, you're going to see a lot of supply kind of come away, so that next year, it may not take as much for this thing to start moving up. That's how I'm looking about a combination of the liquidity plus the supply that's out there, in particular for XRP, when we talk about that as an asset. But I think as a whole, Abs, the whole thing will start triggering next year. I think the Clarity Act will be one of the biggest triggers for it, because that's going to signal to the rest of the world that it's safe and okay to invest in crypto without the SEC, not this SEC, but future SECs or any agencies coming after them, because they won't have to. They'll have the clarity they need, and that's when I think the game begins. And at that point, when exactly that happens, when the money starts coming, don't know. It took almost 6 months to a year in the Telecom Act in 96 when we got it passed, before we saw the money come in 97. So the question is, what are we going to see? What's that going to look like? The timing in 26? I'm not sure, but I just think it'll be sometime in 26. And that's
Agreed.
what I'm gearing up for, my friend.
Well, Johnny, you know what the truth is too? I mean, 2025 was a bear market. Let's be very clear about this.
Yeah,
If
pretty
we
much.
close this year below 93,000, it's not even pretty much. It's by definition.
35%, right?
By definition, 2025 was a bear market. If we close out this year below $93,000, we did not get that hyperinflation. We did not get that rapid expansion of digital assets. But instead, what did we get? We got the regulation of this asset class. We got the groundwork being laid. We got the ETFs live. We got the case resolved. So there's a lot of positive momentum here. And I'm going to ask the live chat a quick question, guys. One's in chat if you think we are in a bear market. Two's in chat if you think the bull market will continue in 2026. So one's for bear market. Two's in chat if you think the bull market continues. And we did already pass 747 likes on today's episode. If you're enjoying this content, show us some love, smash that like button. And all I ask for on my birthday today is if you tap that like button for me and join this channel. Shout out to you guys. Greatly appreciated. And on a more positive note, Johnny, look at how much XRP is being accumulated by Wall Street companies right now. 670 million units. That's $1.3 billion has been taken off exchanges and OTC desks and put in the hands of the ETF issuers. This is what we're waiting for. If 2026 is shaping up to be what we all predict, Wall Street is positioning themselves as we speak. Floor's yours.
We have a great blog coming out, Abs. It's going to talk all about this, and we'll share it once we get it launched on the Merlin website in the next day or two. But what we did was we looked at the Bitcoin ETFs and when they launched and what the timing was and how it worked. And what you'll see is there was a delay or a lag. In fact, the same exact thing that we're seeing happening right now with the XRP ETF happened with Bitcoin. Pricing actually went down when they launched, but they were buying up, and about 3 to 6 months later, we saw it hit all-time highs. So there is a lag or a delay from the time the ETFs are accumulating versus the time that we actually saw BTC hit its all-time high. Like I said, it was around 3 to 6 months or something like that. So if you think about it and you kind of say, all right, let's just assume the same time frame for XRP, which we know these launched in November, add 3 to 6 months to that, and it puts you right, bang, where we've been talking about between Q1 and Q2 of 2026 to expect potentially all-time highs. So again, I don't want to get everybody all excited. Oh, Johnny says it's gonna, but just looking at history, it looks like maybe it just seems like there's so many things that are going to be coming together in 2026 in Q1 or Q2 from a catalyst perspective, with the pipes being built, with the delay of the ETFs finally impact coming through, Clarity Act, Fed pumping money, and don't forget Trump wanting to win the election. So he's going to be giving away free money like crazy. So it's just a lot of things I think happening that are going to really put us in a good place. I'll be highly disappointed if we don't see prices starting to move up in Q1 and Q2 of next year. I'm really, really counting on that. So,
well, Johnny, we reference that service that we often talk about on this channel where we have these TA guys, we don't say their name. They put out content very rarely, and they're never overly optimistic. I'll go as far as to say that. They typically lean into more lower price targets, realistic price targets. What they are telling us about Bitcoin is that if Bitcoin is able to hold its October lows, meaning I think we went as low as, I'm going to check the live data, so I'll report that while you're kind of talking, Johnny.
Yeah.
If we're able to hold those lows, Bitcoin will end up rallying in Q1 of next year. Correct. And this fits perfectly with the stimulus of the Fed. So the narratives are connecting. And then you think about what's happening with retail investors. I have an article that I'm going to show you right now, I guess, where Bitcoin investors, they're selling the asset at a loss. The SDR is still below 1, meaning recent buyers are selling Bitcoin for less than they paid for it. If that's irrational behavior, if that's not irrational behavior, I don't know what is, my friend.
I mean, that's impatience. That tells me right there, it's still, people are still coming into this space as a get rich quick scheme. And they're coming in, they're putting in money they can't afford to lose. They put it in, it goes down, and then they're selling at a loss to get out because they didn't understand what they were getting in and understand the time frame of what it takes to really let this asset kind of do its thing. And to me, we don't think we can be more blunt than saying like that's not the way to play this game, right? This game, you don't want to be coming to this thing and looking for a get rich quick scheme. Those kind of days, I think the past where they happened was the past. Right now, we're moving into a completely different market that's transforming. Big money at play. Do I think we will have a day when we get a speculative one? Absolutely. I think it will. Or do you want to time that? No, you got to sit here. You got to put money in. that you cannot afford, that you can't afford to lose. Put it in there, and then you gotta play the waiting game, apps. This is really a game of patience at this point, because you gotta let the house get built. And right now, nobody wants to buy the house when it's just a foundation, right? But they're gonna want to buy it when it looks like a beautiful colonial raised ranch or whatever kind of house you like. That's when the money's gonna come. And so for me, it's just a matter of people are still having that same mindset, and that's why they're selling at a low. Abs, would you be selling at 75K Bitcoin? We really just said if it holds 90, we're probably going to 180. Why would you ever sell at 70? It's just people not understanding this market and understanding how it works and understanding what it takes for technology. And see, I got an advantage, right? Being in technology, I see people say, "Oh, Johnny, they've been working on 6 since 1981." So yeah, they have. They've been building the technology then. But then it's kind of got launched, right? But companies themselves haven't actually been playing and developing and working with this technology until a few years ago. And people are like, well, Johnny, that was a few years ago. Yeah. Guess what, Abs? I'm working on a technology right now that we started developing 12 years ago. And we're launching it this year. So just so you all know, don't think because they've been working on a technology 5, 6, 7 years that seems like a lot. No, it's not. It's been 12 years in the making on the one I'm working on, and we're actually launching it this year. So that's what I'm saying, Abs. These things take a long time, but when they come fast and hard. And I think we're starting to get into that area of next year where we're going to see money that's going to play off the speculation of what they believe the utility will be for these things in the future. So we're close, in my opinion.
Guys, 8,000 live listeners here joining us. Show us some love. Smash that like button. One thing I can promise you, whether this is a bull market or a bear market, we're sticking around. We're going to be here every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And we did already pass 800 likes on the show. Just want to give a huge shout out and thank you. Rootswise, a membership with a $20 donation. Huge shout out and thank you to my friend. Big shout out and thank you, guys. I'm going to be using this to buy XRP. Thank you very much. Link says, happy birthday, Abs. The Oracle of Truth. You know what you're talking about. We're the Oracle over here. Shout out to Links. Always been here since Good Morning Crypto. Shout out to you, my friend. And thank you for the $5 as well as the membership. Dennis commented, Tether just tried to buy more of Milan's soccer club. Paolo is exiting USDT, in my opinion. That may be why Bitcoin, which is Tether funded, is going down. Again, Tether is the black swan that Brad Garlinghouse predicted. That's not my statement. That's what Brad Garlinghouse had to say. But Johnny, you want to talk about danger in the crypto market? Danger is right here. Solana validators are down 68% from 2,500 to 800. 2 more quits this month, citing per epoch losses, meaning they're losing money to run the validators right now. They need $17 million just to stake and operate. JP Morgan and State Street headlines look great, but validators are losing money on every block that they validate. 750 validators triggers the structural short. Danger, that's not just Johnny's middle name. That's what's in the Solana's community right now. Johnny, what's your reaction to this one?
You know, Abs, it's always a risk when you look at these things. I mean, it kind of cracks me up when you think about the whole purpose of the cryptocurrency here is, that's right. No gift today. Come on, man. Let's go. 1979, there's got to be a little room for a gift here for Abs. But, you know, at the end of the day, the cryptocurrencies are here to be incentives to drive these nodes. And it just kind of cracks me up not cracks me up, but to see that they're running at a negative here. The volume and demand just isn't there. And the question is, what's going to happen? Of course, now they're reaching out and, hey, how do we tap into other communities that can help drive volume and service? And you're seeing some partnerships with XRP. I've always said that these things got to all coexist and work together. Right now, all of these things, Abs, are all working right now in silos. And I think as they start to come together and work together, that's where they're going to find a place where they can actually coexist and bring better value, like 1 + 1 = 3 versus 1 by itself on its own. It just really doesn't add a lot of value. So I think there is a big piece there that's coming into play. The other thing too, that I think when we talk about pricing right now, you're like everybody's like panicking today. Listen, guys, you got to remember, we're in December, Abs. In December, especially when we get into the last week of December, people are going to sell. They are going to take profits. To me, I love the last week of December. Because why? Because everybody's selling. Things are at an all-time low. I save money up for the last week of December. That's when you want to be. Again, we're not financial advisors, but that's when you want to be buying some of these assets, Abs, because you can get them for a little cheaper because people are having a fire sale because they want to take a tax loss. So I'm expecting more down from now to the end of the year, or sometime between now and the end of the year. And when I see those downs, I will definitely be DCAing again, because to me, there will be the last time before we go into 2026. And I think we're going to start to see a very different year shape up after, like you said, this may be a bear market. Now, not your typical bear market where you see 90% pullbacks. We haven't seen that. And I'm not so sure we will see that kind of thing. But I do believe we're at least moving into a space where this industry is starting to become a little more less volatile, at least on these massive swings, but with a future upside speculative run that's coming shortly.
And with as complicated as this space is, Johnny, it's really important to remember, what does this space come down to? Buying the right project and not selling too early. If you do those two things, you're going to make money. So 90% of this game is not being convinced by people who are overly emotional that the asset that you purchased is depreciating and going to zero, because that was a huge narrative the XRP army had to overcome. That's why I'm so... It's almost like, you know, when somebody goes through a bunch of difficult things in life and then the small stuff, they're just unbothered. Similar sentiment over here, where it's like, we went through so much adversity. I was making content in 2022 every day, 2023 every day, 2024 every day. And during that time, XRP's price chart was just down and to the right. It was 50 cents. It was 40 cents. It was up to 70. It was down to 50 the next day. It's not that way anymore. We're sitting here at $1.90. And I think that when this next leg up comes, it's the people who are buying at $2 that are going to be the new 50-cent investors, if that makes sense. I do want to give a big thank you and shout out to Nova Krypto. We will win. Thank you very much for the $33. My belief is in the end, we win, my friends. But we're going to play this video right here. Now, this is the bearish sentiment. We play both sides of the coin. Now, what's funny is if you look at the bookmarks here, it's 589 bookmarks. So that might be a sign for our community here, Johnny. And we did just pass 900 likes, guys. If you want to help us out, we're trying to break 1,000 likes today. Show us some love. Smash that like button. We're already at 917. We're greatly appreciative anyways, guys. But we're going to play this short clip. What if Bitcoin's in a bear market, Johnny? What if? Here it is.
Very serious people raising the potential that it could be an issue within 2 to 9 years. And the quantum stuff is way over my head. It's way over my pay grade. I try to read it and I feel like the dumbest person alive. And I am not in a position to sit here and have any debate with someone. Is quantum, is it a risk? Is it not? What I am in a position to discuss is I've been in markets 30 years and I'm watching the way Bitcoin is not making a new high against gold. I'm watching what Tether's doing. I'm watching what these people I respect in the space are saying. And I'm saying, markets are telling me that serious, and oh, by the way, the OG whales, most selling in a cycle ever.
Oh, really?
Maybe, I didn't know that. Yeah, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's nothing. Now, intuitively, if I was worth 50, 100, 200, 300 billion dollars in Bitcoin, it is probably mostly in Bitcoin. I've held it for 15 years, 10 years. I would probably be very tied in that world. And I wouldn't sell unless there was some sort of real, I would start to take some off the table if I thought quantum was a risk I wanted to at least hedge somewhat. And so when I see this whale selling, I can't help but think, you know, maybe there's something there. Given the price action I'm seeing when you're looking at gold versus Bitcoin not breaking, setting a new high against gold for the first time in its life. When I see it breaking down on a momentum base, various momentum bases relative to the dollar, on long-term charts, like I don't really look at the chart. Like for me, I just want to see the long-term technicals, and the long-term technicals were really breaking down about 3-4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. And so that's really where I just say, you know what, I fully concede I might be being too cute by half. And these technicals, when they broke each of the last 3 times, as emphatically as they just broke about 4 weeks ago, the median decline in Bitcoin was 65, 70% each time. And there have only been 3 triggers in 14 years, and there have been no false triggers. So for me, it's, you know what, especially given the size that it had grown to in my portfolio, it was a champagne problem, knock on wood. I got something right for a change, but to me, it spoke to a need to right size it and substantially reduce positions, because I just think it's going a lot lower. And I guess lastly, to tie back, why is it functioning? I've called it the last functioning smoke alarm for 5, 6, 7 years. Look, it's telling us the first half of next year is going to be ugly, right? Let's make no mistakes. Bitcoin if this Bitcoin sell-off is not just 100% tech and quantum computing related, and forget about tech, because tech's liquidity too. If this isn't just a Bitcoin specific quantum computing sell-off, and I don't think it is, then what Bitcoin's telling us is, so we go back to that BC and AD of 2026. Yikes. There's a lot of, basically everything but gold and the dollar are likely to get waylaid until we get to year zero.
Which is interesting, Johnny, because again, we have seen a divergence with how Bitcoin is trading compared to gold. Gold is climbing. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is actively dropping. And this doesn't fit the narrative that BlackRock had shared dozens of times over and over all throughout 2025, which is what? Bitcoin's digital gold. If Bitcoin was digital gold, we'd be sitting here and we'd be outperforming just like gold is. I know you have some prior experience in regards to this. So I'm going to kick it over to you. What's your reaction to this one?
Yeah, listen, I mean, this is a tough one, right? There are people who have made a lot of money out of Bitcoin. And so there is a scary story out there of, oh my God, there's going to be quantum computing coming and could be hacked and all that. And so that maybe that does scare people sitting there going, wow, I made a ton of money. I don't know anything about this. Let me get out. I can understand that. That certainly is a credible narrative that could scare people out of this space. So it doesn't surprise me that maybe that's a little bit what's going on. People want to take profits. I'm sitting here. I'd be a hypocrite if I said I wouldn't take profits. I mean, come on, we invented Merlin just for that, abs, to take profits. So I'm not surprised that people are taking money out because they're up. That's what they should be doing, right? That's why we invented this right here, guys. You can create your exit strategies. Maybe they're getting their exit alerts or whatever they put in place, abs, to signal to them it's time to sell. And you guys can do the same and protect yourselves. Click on the link below, sign up for 30-day trial free, and you'll get to protect it. But to me, I think that is the way that may be one of the scenarios that we're seeing play out here right now. And so for me, am I panicked? No. Do I still believe that Bitcoin is going to be digital gold? Yes. I mean, we've literally seen the biggest players in the world. I'm talking BlackRock, JP Morgan, who have said in the past that Bitcoin was a scam, have now embraced it and taken it over. Now, are they out here to let it crash and burn? No, I don't think that's going to happen at all. In fact, we've seen governments talking about making the strategic reserve. Are we going to see that continue to happen? I think you're going to start hearing that narrative again next year. So I don't think those things are dead or put to rest. I think Bitcoin still has another leg up. Of course, we'll see, right? If it can hold in this 90K zone, I think we're ready for the next leg up. And everybody now is talking about next year being bad, which is great. It's what you want. When everybody's saying it's bad, guess what, abs? They're usually wrong. And the reason why I like Raoul Pal is because he's been in this industry. He knows how these things play out. He knows what drives these cycles. And I think next year, because you're hearing so many people say, oh, yeah, it may not be so great, I think it's actually going to be really good. Again, one of the biggest things I've learned over my whole entire career investing in stuff is you always do the opposite of what you're hearing. And what did we hear? We heard that this October and November was going to be great. And guess what? It was horrible. And we're hearing next year is going to be bad. Well, guess what? It's probably going to be great. It's the opposite of what they're telling you. That's the way I'm playing this game.
I appreciate that insight because think about it. Once again, we always see the inverse of what retail thinks play out. Yeah. And I've seen this before back in 2021 when we went through that bull market. Right before alt season, it was nothing but negative headlines. Remember that. It wasn't like we built up and there was all this positive stuff happening and then all of a sudden the market began to respond. No, there was nothing happening. The space was dead. Liquidity came in and projects did 10Xs. I watched Cardano go from 3 cents to $3. That's 100X. I watched XRP go from 17 cents to $1.90. That's a 12X, basically. That never happened. And I think we are overdue for some of that price action. And this is a little bit of optimism to kind of add to that, Johnny. The green dots here, that's when the whales are stepping into the space. And it's very clear whales are entering the space right now, buying XRP, buying some Bitcoin. It is the short-term traders that are capitulating. It's the retail investors who showed up and had an unrealistic perception of just how much money they were going to make. Yeah. Those are the people who are tapped out, not the ones who are focused on regulation, not the ones who are focused on real-world adoption. Those people are buying the lows. And me and you have talked about this transparently, guys. We're not financial advisors. We're just two guys on the internet documenting what we're doing. We've been buying the dips. I was buying $2.12 XRP last week. I can almost assure you, I'm going to be buying $1.91 XRP to lower that DCA. That's how the game is played. And for anybody out there who thinks we're preaching one thing and doing another, it's not true. Anybody who knows me on a personal level, anybody who knows me on kind of like how I've grown my own crypto portfolio, it has been through dollar cost averaging and then doubling down on red days. That's how I did it. And so anybody can apply that really simple concept to themselves. It goes back to that initial statement, Johnny. The only thing this space really comes down to is, do you pick a successful project and do you hold it long enough to realize the gains? If you do those two very simple things, you win. If you get scared out, you lose. Or if you pick the wrong asset, right? If you picked Algorand, it is what it is, my friends. There's not a whole lot going on there. And the validator news that we saw over the weekend, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are aware of this. Solana is having a validator issue. Algorand is also having a validator issue. Now, guys, we did just pass 1,000 likes on the episode. So if you enjoy this content, smash that like button. And someone said, you say that the news doesn't move the price, but you keep reporting on the news. This is a crypto news related channel. I say that at the beginning of the episode. That'd be like, hey,
the flash.
Hey, the Patriots keep. It'd be like, hey, the Patriots keep losing. Why you keep reporting on the Patriots information when you go to the Patriots broadcast, right? So that's what it is. And someone
this is a crypto channel, guys. Sorry, I hate to break the news to everybody. Abs, I shouldn't have told them, but I just let the cat out of the bag. We are a crypto news channel, which means sometimes we do talk about crypto. I'm sorry, guys. It's just so you know. Whether it's good or bad, we're talking about crypto, okay?
We did get 2 more donations. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Bailey in chat. She said, happy birthday, Abs. Well, thank you and shout out to you, Johnny. He's rocking the Bailey blue this morning, my friends.
Yes.
And Nona says, Abs is getting all the love today. Good morning, Mario. Thanks to you for also all the work you do during these great XRP Army loyals. I don't know if she thinks Johnny Crypto's Mario or Mario's in chat. I didn't see Mario in chat, but listen, it's a compliment either way.
I'll carry the banner. I'll be Mario today. It's all good. And yes, I actually did. Abs, we got to always call a shout out to the most heart woman in our channel, Bailey. She's got the most hearts out there. And Bailey, again, I wore this blue. I call it Bailey blue just for you. But again, Abs, and yes, another thing, Abs and I are extremely bullish on Korean. Abso-freaking-lutely. Whenever you can treat yourself to Korean barbecue, guys, please go ahead and do it. It looks like Mario was in the chat. But, I did want to say, Abs, one of the things that's so important, it kind of like what we do, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I think it's important to repeat 3 things, guys. 1, you got to have patience. 2, you got to have an exit plan. And 3, you got to be using the right places to sell, right? And that's what we use, or for me personally, and Abs, we love ITrust Capital. Why? Well, because once we sell, if you sell in your Roth IRA, you get to be able to, Gabs always says, Johnny, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. I'm like, you're absolutely right, baby. That's why I have a Roth IRA, because everything I earn in that IRA, Roth IRA, that is, I get to keep. And somebody said to me yesterday, a family I was telling about them, right? And they're like, wait, but you have to pay taxes when you take it out, right? I'm like, what? And like, but you have to pay tax. I'm like, in a traditional IRA, yes. If it grows, then no worry, no need to apologize. No, just when no, that's a tired. I love you right there. But I just want to explain this because people are confused. If you have a traditional IRA, when anything you gain in it is tax deferred, which means you don't pay taxes today. But someday when you go to withdraw from that IRA apps, you're going to pay taxes on what you take out of it. But if you convert your IRA now into a Roth, yes, you're going to pay taxes today for the conversion. But then any growth in that, you don't pay 0 taxes ever. And then when I go to withdraw it, I pay 0 taxes. That means for the rest of my life, I will never pay a single dollar in taxes on any growth or any income I make in my Roth IRA. So you can see why it's so powerful and why I'm so excited about having a Roth IRA. So guys, if you haven't thought about one, it doesn't matter how old you are. I got my kids in them right now. My kids are like your age, Abs, right? 24 and 27. They both have Roth IRAs. When they're 59 and a half, do you know what those things are going to be worth? And guess what? The best part, Uncle Sam can't touch those. So again, it's just something to think about to help give you the mental support and path of how to set yourself up, not only for success. Abs nailed it. Picking the right asset helps. Having an exit plan helps. And then selling in an asset where you get to keep all of it also helps. And that is the Good Morning Crypto blueprint. We just gave it to you right then and there. Nobody wants a Roth IRA? No problem. Guess what? They go ahead and create hey, here's the best part. If you don't want a Roth IRA, ITrust also has what's called a PCA, and that is called a premium custody account. Why do I like that one too, Abs? Because here's another thing you all need to think about. When your XRP is at $10, $20, $100, and your account is worth $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, have you thought about how you're going to protect it? Because I'll tell you right now, I was in a hot wallet, and I got hacked. And there were people who've been in cold wallets, and they've gotten hacked. We've seen the Ellie Paul story where the guy lost $3 million XRP. But here's the one good news about a PCA account. Premium custody account at ITrust Capital is the safest account in the world right now. Even if it gets hacked, the worst thing that happens is the hacker sends the money back to your bank account. So if you don't want a Roth IRA, guess what? You can get an ITrust PCA. All right, I get off my soapbox on that. Click the link below. Use our GEC link, and you'll get $100 free towards either your PCA account or your Roth IRA account or IRA account for that matter.
Absolutely agree. And guys, if Blessed, I never ban, and I didn't just ban, but I put somebody in timeout. Blessed. The guy, let me just say this about Blessed out there. Shows up every single day. We appreciate that. Always engaging in the chat. We appreciate that. So shout out to you, my friend. You're going to get nothing but love from this side of the aisle. We did pass 1,000 likes on today's episode. If you want to, click on the link below. Check out the iTrust Capital link. You guys have seen all the big sponsorships. I think the biggest thing is that when you think about what iTrust does, you pay those initial taxes up front. So let's say XRP goes from $2 to $10. Well, that $8 that you just made, zero taxes on that. That's what I think is so exciting about the product, guys. But we are an hour into the episode. If you enjoyed this content, show us some love. Smash that like button. Let us know some of your thoughts in chat. Now, the question that we asked our live chat today was, do you believe we are in a bull market or a bear market? And I think we're in the precipice of that 35% pullback that we've been talking about, been very transparent about that the entire time. 86% of the 1,800 votes said we are still bullish on 2026. 13% said no. And that's really great because if you look at the broader crypto space, meaning you just observe what's happening on social media, it's very, very clear that the regular retail investor is tapped out. They're frustrated. They feel like they deserve to be rich yesterday. But the long-term investors, the ones who know what they hold, they buy the asset, they hold for a long enough period of time, and they understand the obvious narrative that none of us control the price, right? It is stupid, and it's the right word, stupid, to blame somebody for the price. You can't blame Brad Garlinghouse. You can't blame David Schwartz. You can only blame the market sentiment and the liquidity that's in the market today. And starting in 2026, we're going to have some massive major momentum based on that new liquidity hitting and entering the American markets. If you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button. We love you guys. We appreciate you all. And we'll see you all in the next one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line.
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You're fake news.
But the challenge, as you know well, is the U.S. has had this very hostile. The Biden administration has been waging a war on crypto, and I think an unlawful war. Courts have agreed with us on that. And we're finally seeing that kind of unlocked in a Trump embraced crypto and crypto embraced Trump. And I think we're seeing